Oh, hey, internet. It's Press X to podcast time. We haven't done one of these in a good long while. James probably has 3 to 4 to 5 more tattoos than the last time we talked.
No. I will have one in a week, but not yet.
Okay. James's next tattoo rapidly approaches in a way it was not rapidly approaching the last time we talked, which is a measurement of how long it's been since we've talked. It's been a while. Welcome back, James Rhett. How are you?
It's great.
Excellent.
Okay.
A gentle nod and an excellent. I like to hear it. Video games have been happening.
Yeah.
Video game season is upon us.
Yeah. Shit's been dropping.
What do y'all?
Wait. Well, how's Paul?
Paul's fine.
Yeah.
Paul's been busy. It's my fault that we haven't been here. So I will take full responsibility for this.
Seems savage just to gloss over you like that, you know?
Well, I wasn't going to ask myself, so
somebody had to step up.
Maybe I will next time. I'm going to ask myself first next time.
Yeah, just cut the line. Be like, fuck these other losers. Paul, how are you doing?
This is the Paul Show. Press X to Paul. And why not?
Yeah.
But video games have been happening, and that's what we do here. We talk about the video games. What have y'all been playing?
I have a big one to talk about, and an apology to make to everybody. Nobody cares, but I'm going to say it anyways. I'll just come right and say it. I scored Star Wars Outlaws too high. Okay. Part of that is that a lot of the shit that's wrong was not really within my purview. Actually, put it that way. That's the whole problem.
It's at this point I want everybody listening to the podcast to pause this episode and go back to the last episode that we recorded and listen to our Star Wars discussion.
Okay, well, now that you're back and we can kind of let me talk again. How's that? Yeah, is that cool? So we're cool? Is that cool with us? Yeah, okay, great.
Yeah.
Couple of things. One, I didn't take into account the price thing. Everybody's bitching about this because the like super extra special edition is so much more money. And to that I say, who fucking cares? Who fucking cares if the special edition is more money? What are you doing buying a digital deluxe edition, you fucking peasants? What is wrong with you? It's a scam. We know it's a scam. We've been knowing it's a scam for years. A physical collector's edition that has cool shit is a completely different story, by the way. If there was like, I want to get the edition with the big fat fucking statue, by all means, go for it. But a digital deluxe edition? You just have too much money? Does money make you physically ill and you need to just get rid of it as fast as you fucking can? What are you doing? So anyways, at that point, I didn't talk about, but wasn't gonna, because who gives a shit? Another thing, apparently there's a lot of bugs. I didn't encounter any bugs, so I didn't think to write about them. Apparently people were like having like glitches and problems and everything else. I didn't see a single fucking thing. Not a thing.
Yo, that was me with Mass Effect Andromeda.
Yeah.
I played that entire game on a PS4, saw all the reviews when they came out. I was like, I saw 0 of these things. Like, not a one.
Fucking, I don't know, man. Apparently, there was like people who paid to get early access. Again, what are you doing? People who paid to get early access, there was a patch or something that erased their progress, and I'm like, that really fucking sucks. I'm really sorry to hear that. Why did you do that? Why did you do that? This isn't Call of fucking Duty. You don't need 3 more days to get a competitive edge on your opponents. Don't do this. If nothing else, this should be the high water mark where the tide hit, where you're like, hey, maybe going forward, we don't buy digital deluxe editions because there's no reason to do so. So those are some of the things that I didn't take into account. The thing that I do actually feel bad about that should have affected my score and didn't, and it probably would have had somebody else review the game, is that apparently the stealth sections are kind of boring. And I didn't know this because I think that stealth is kind of boring. So I no objectivity about this. No ability to parse this. Couldn't, you know what I mean? Where it's just like it's kind of like asking me to review a sports game. There's some things I'm just gonna miss. Part of the reason I took the review project in the first place was that I was curious as to just how much of the game was gonna be sneaking around and stealing shit. Turns out all of the game is this. There's other shit you do, but every main mission you take on, every big important plot point, everything you do that like moves the story forward involves you sneaking around and stealing shit. It's like the big impetus of the story. It's like it's what kicks things off. It's what leads to every good and bad thing in your character's life is sneaking around and stealing shit. So like, fair warning, if that doesn't sound like a good time, don't fucking buy this game.
And you have to sneak?
Well, strictly speaking, no, not always, but you're not a fighter exactly. And so you can blast. It's basically Kay Vess is a Star Wars character in that she's not particularly talented. She's just kind of lucky and is in the right place at the right time. And it's a lot of fun to watch. You know, Star Wars characters are never aggressively competent. They're just sort of charismatic or interesting, or they get into interesting situations. And they nailed that part of her character because she has no super powerful stealth skills. She's just very quiet and she's willing to throw a punch and can take one. But it's really funny watching her do melee attacks because she just seems completely fucking graceless when she does it. And it's actually kind of an amazing detail. But like, don't try to shoot your way out of things that if you can help it. Like if you can sneak, great. Shooting is what you do when you fucked up stealth.
No.
So for me, I'm like, God, I would simply rather not. But I thought to myself, well, hey, baby, if you're a stealth gamer, right? If you want to play stealth games, if you're just all I ever want to do is sneak, right, and do stealth through missions, maybe this is the game for you. Turns out, no. Also, no. Apparently, even the stealth sections are kind of mid, right? And I didn't know this because I don't like stealth games.
Well, it was not.
So I'm sorry.
It was not pitched as that at all, right?
No. To be fair, there are like space battles, right? You can, when you're flying between planets, you can get into space battles and you can use your ship and the controls are decent and you shoot and you there's a card game that's really fun called Sabacc. I love it. It's a blast. Sabacc probably single-handedly got the review to the score it was at, if we're gonna be honest. I gave it an 85. Sabacc is probably the reason why.
Is it as good as Queen's Blood?
It's not quite as good as Queen's Blood. Nothing is quite as good as Queen's Blood, but they did a really good job with it because like instead of just like looking at a sort of disembodied board with the cards on it or whatever, you actually kind of have a camera view of all the players and you're like you hear them talk and be like, oh, this is a good hand or bad, or they'll make little tells that'll kind of give away how they're doing. And you watch the animations as the little dealer robot like scoops up cards and chips and doles them out and everything else. It's very lovingly crafted and like really well done. And the game itself is basically space poker. So you pick it up pretty fast and it's good. It's a good game. And so there is some speeder bike racing. You can rip around on that and do that shit. That's cool. But all of this is like the garnish, the side dishes to the main gameplay, which is sneaking around and stealing shit.
So here's the thing. I like sneaking around and stealing things.
Mm-hmm.
That is, for me, an objectively good time. What I don't like is being forced to do that or having fail states associated with having to be sneaky.
Those are pretty unusual.
Okay.
Most of the missions I did, there'd be a very small section sometimes where it's like, if you get caught, that's it. But most of the time, you could just get caught, and if you shoot that person in the back before they get to the alarm panel, you're good. Sometimes. sometimes if it's an open area and they yell, other people will hear them. Also, blasters are loud.
Mhm.
So, you know what I mean? Like, so that's kind of cool and interesting. Honestly, I still kind of stand by it. I thought the stealth stuff was well done enough. I just think you can't have that be so much of the fucking gameplay. Like, it just feels like it's I would say it constitutes, practically speaking, 80 to 85% of your gameplay time. And I think really it should be like 40 to 45.
Unless
like
it's like the best stealth.
And it's not. It's not. It's decent stealth. It's fine. It's not the best. And this is something I found out because I didn't know. This is something I found out from the other reviews that I like kind of casually flipped through. So like maybe all I'm saying is that maybe if I was a guy who played a lot of stealth games or played in that style, I would have a better idea of how mid-level it was.
Wow.
So yeah.
Stealth has been all downhill since MGS3.
Okay. Duly noted. So basically what I'm saying is here on the Press X to podcast, here in front of all of our listeners / viewers, I will give my actual, probably the amended, probably the more accurate, reasonable score. It's a 7. It's fine. It's fine.
Which is what
it's
we
a fine
predicted.
game.
It's an Ubisoft game.
It's a 7. Yeah, it's a 7. It's an Ubisoft 7. I lost sight of this, and I may have single-handedly improved the Metascore by like a point. Oops.
What is the Metascore? Speaking of that,
Not great.
Hold on.
I think a lot of other people had a lot more glitches during their playthroughs.
77.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm 8 points above, which is unusual for me. Usually I'm either kind of on the money or below. But it's also possible that I may have a bit of a Star Wars blind spot.
Well, there's quite a few people who agree with you.
Okay.
Quite a few people who thought more highly of it.
Okay.
Like IGN Portugal.
Interesting. Actual North American IGN did not fuck with it as much as I did, which is interesting. It is so rare for me to be in the position where I thought a game was better than IGN thought a game was.
What did they give it?
I don't know
really
what
shit on it.
I don't know. I don't think I actually saw the numbered score. I just saw their little blurb.
70.
And it was like, ooh, wow, man, ooh, oh geez, okay, yeah, that's a rare thing. I don't know. I'm more or less fine with the score I gave it. It was based on my own personal impressions. It turns out that they were just not as well informed as they could be about some critical aspects of the gameplay, and I feel kind of bad about that. But at the same time, it was my specific experience playing the game. Again, heavily informed by Sabak, which rules. It's so good.
Well, great.
I was like yelling at the TV every time I would like get a great hand and win. It was like, oh my god.
Just the way it should be.
Yeah. So, anyways, that was my experience with Outlaws. Too much.
Well, I feel like I'm probably still going to try it, but probably also going to wait for the Ubi discount.
Yeah, by all means.
Up. This baby will be like 80% off in a couple of months, right?
Yeah.
That'd be about right.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I've been playing a little bit of Black Myth Wukong, which is I think they want it to be a Souls-like sort of kind of thing, where you play as a mythical figure who Goku from Dragon Ball is based upon. I've heard a lot of people saying this is like the best game ever. It's got the highest number of concurrent players ever for a single player game on Steam. It is fine. It's competent. It looks really nice. I feel like it's a little closer to something like a Platinum game than a Dark Souls game. Not quite that frantic, but you don't need to be very methodical. Like, I'm not a good Souls player, and I'm pretty much cruising. Not finding it that hard.
How far into it are you?
Couple hours. I'm sure it ramps up as you.
Still in the first chapter?
Yes. Have you been playing this as well, Rhett?
I have. Yeah, it definitely picks up at the end of chapter 2.
Okay.
I don't think mashing dodge is gonna work as well in that fight, in the final boss fight of chapter 2 as it has been for you.
Yeah, you don't think so?
But I agree with you that it's got lots of issues. It's good, but it's got lots of issues. I can't remember the last time I played a game with as many invisible walls as this one has.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the navigation is really frustrating because of that.
Yeah,
Small little rocks that you think you can jump up onto to maybe take a shortcut over a bit of terrain. You can't, and that just keeps happening. Even in boss fights, you'll find that bosses end up behind an invisible wall where they can charge an attack on you, and you just kind of have to sit there and get ready to dodge it. You can't interrupt it.
Yeah, and I think part of that comes from the game looking like it does. Like, the environment is very attractive. You want to go looking.
Yeah.
So, and it's not super linear. Like, there are branching paths that you can take and you can look around a bit. But like you said, if you want to go over something, you probably can't. And that feels a little outdated.
Yeah. Not having a map also feels outdated.
Oh my God, yeah.
Especially because... So I'm into chapter 3. In the first 2 chapters, especially the second one, the environment all kind of looks the same. And it's really difficult to keep track of where you've been and what you've done. So yeah, some sort of map would have been a nice addition.
Yeah. I think mechanically speaking too, like, it feels sluggish in some ways. Like, the character feels responsive, but it feels sluggish in some ways. Like, if you're mashing the attack button, it doesn't feel like your button presses are directly connected to what you're doing. Or if you want to pick up resources on the ground, you got to be standing in the exact right spot, and you've got to be very deliberate about hitting the button. You can't be doing anything else, or it won't work. So there are things like that make it feel like this is the first game that this team is making as a whole team. Maybe they've got lots of experience. I don't know, but
getting your character into that specific spot can be a fucking pain in the ass.
Yeah,
you run up to a shrine to do the incense thing with, and you'll be looking in one direction and you don't do it, so you try to adjust in the other direction and he goes too far, then you're doing that over and over again trying to get into the right spot. Yeah, there's been a lot of that.
So I would highly question anybody that's like, this game is perfect.
I think part of the hype is that there's a certain chunk of the gaming population that has been waiting for a great AAA game starring this character, probably for their whole lives, and are just like over the fucking moon that this is out there. You know what I mean? Like, which, fair enough, right? Like, if that, you grew up, you hear stories about this cool, badass monkey man, and then here he is in a fucking big, fat, beautiful AAA game, probably gonna eat that shit up. Why wouldn't you?
How do you feel about the voice acting?
So I'm playing it in Mandarin.
That's probably the correct option.
Yeah, I don't know why you wouldn't be.
I don't know. I didn't change it. It defaulted to English.
Oh no!
Yeah, you probably change it.
I'll change it immediately. How about that?
Yeah, I've been having a great time not listening to it in English.
whoever the dude is they have doing Sun Wukong, the laugh that he has selected for this character is wow. And he's like cackling all the time. So
yeah,
it's really something.
yeah.
Okay.
Probably keep playing it though. It's fun enough that I kind of want to see where it goes. At least for a while longer.
Yeah. If you like boss rushes, play it.
Oh, okay. Dope.
Yeah. As far as mashing the buttons though, Paul, try to be a bit more deliberate, I think, in what you're doing.
Maybe it's just the mood I was in last time I was playing.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, again, especially as as you get further in the game, you want to make sure to sort of learn how long your attacks take to come out and time your button presses accordingly.
I have noticed that, especially if you're trying to unload with a big heavy attack or something, you really got to plan that stuff out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a competent, good game. It's not game changing. So what else have we been playing here, fellers?
Rhett, what do you got, bud?
I mean, Black Myth. That was pretty much it.
Okay.
Been playing the Elden Ring DLC.
Okay, so you finally got around to returning to the Erd Tree.
It's excellent. It's difficult. But like it's very much just more Elden Ring. You know, other than a few small adjustments to the upgrade system. It's just more Elden Ring.
Did you find you had to change your shit up for the new slate of bosses?
No, I've been using the same build.
What playstyle do you use, out of curiosity?
On this character, I did the samurai bleed build.
Okay.
The best part, like, there's been some cool bosses. Did you fight that Bale dragon?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I guess I didn't realize that I was going towards Bale essentially as soon as I started the DLC.
Mm-hmm.
I was like level 2 when I fought him.
Okay.
But my build sufficed, wasn't that bad. Yeah, I haven't found that I've had to adjust my play style. But I have been certainly experimenting with all the weapons. It seems like every time I come across a new weapon, I'm like, oh shit, I want to try that. So yeah, there's a lot of cool like hand-to-hand weapons. If you're a fan, I've talked about the Star Fists before. If you're a fan of like fist weapons, there's a ton of cool new fist weapons that you can use. Claws, and there's like these hand wraps that now you can put them on and they add like kicks to your combos.
Yeah, you could do like a whole ass martial arts build where you're just like whoop pow pow.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. So yeah, the weapons really that's really where I've been adjusting things, not because I necessarily feel like I need to, just because I want to.
Yeah, I think the DLC had certain play styles kind of like fucked right up, but if depending on how you were playing, you probably didn't need to make any serious adjustments. I think you could just kind of roll on through. I was not prepared for the DLC in any tangible way, and so I had to really recalibrate. But you know, other people were just like, "No, it's this. I have always been playing this way. You're fine."
Yeah.
You know.
I will say though, the first Furnace Golem that you fight when you come in, first Furnace Golem, 20 minutes in, he fucked me up for a little bit. It was probably a good 30-45 minutes of pounding my head against a wall with him, trying to figure it out. But
yeah, I kind of just didn't fight those guys.
No,
no, man, they were never.
They're too damn big to not fight.
Like, I had sort of the opposite impulse where I was like,
He's
I don't gotta.
Yeah,
he's very big.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna go.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna go.
I came across the one, so like the first one again, I eventually got him down, but I came across another one that you can't fight in the same way. You can't like break the chains on his legs, so you have to like throw items in the open head hole of his. And like there's not been a boss in the main game that requires like a specific, maybe Rykard with that special sword that you have to use, but there's not been another boss where you have to like do something that specific to finish it off. So I haven't beat him yet. I'm waiting for, you know, an item that might be, you know, especially powerful against him. But yeah, that one in particular, I'm like, probably want to avoid him right now.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like, I think we talked about this last time, but this is maybe it's just more Elden Ring, but it brings into the discussion like what counts as a game. Does the Elden Ring DLC track for Game of the Year?
That's a great question. I still don't really have an answer.
I'll tell you what.
Oh,
sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say personally, I have always tried to trim remakes and DLC from the list just to narrow it down. But I also hadn't really played a DLC that like elevated the base game like this one does.
That's what I was just gonna say. I was gonna say, if anything, the DLC solidifies Elden Ring as one of the best games ever made. It's pretty impressive what they did, how much they added, how much more they added to the map, and how much content they added into it with the DLC. With that in there, it's like, man, anybody playing that game for the first time could easily get 150 to 200 hours out of their first playthrough if they wanted. And it's great.
And it wouldn't. It's not like, oh, this is taking forever. It's more like, I don't really want this to end.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So it might be in the contention, but even if we add it to the list, it's possible there's going to be enough other kind of bangers on there that sort of shove it down. Like even if we're like, well, yeah, we're going to count the DLC, it's at number 11. It's just like, you know what I mean? Like, but we're going to see. It is probably, like you said, it's turned the base game into something even better than it already was. And I'm pretty definitely going to do a whole nother run of Elden Ring. It's like neck to nuts, like at some point, maybe even in this calendar year. So like, I don't know, man, it's pretty up there.
Yeah, the first time through the game, I didn't really get a grasp for just how varied you can make the game, just how many different play styles there are. Yeah, there's only like 11 or 12, 14 classes that you can choose from at the start, but your starting class dictates essentially nothing. You can build your character however you want, and then the amount of armor sets and the amount of weapons in the game really are what dictate how you're going to play. And as far as weapons are concerned, there were 300 plus in the base game, and now there's another 80 in the DLC. So essentially, there's close to 400 weapon builds that you can do. And the vast majority of them will feel different from the last. It's pretty fucking cool.
What would you say about the balance of all that, though? Like, there's that many different ways to play, that many different ways to build.
There's definitely, they definitely kind of represent a sort of invisible difficulty scaling. Like, for example, my build that I've adopted for the DLC, the Stabby Turtle, that's definitely a sort of easy mode, right? Like you were just like heavy armor, big shield, long spear. That's like you can kind of like tumble fuck your way through most regular boss encounters or regular enemies without too much trouble. That's an easy mode. Whereas you get like the kicks and punches, you're gonna, that's harder, but you could do it.
Yeah.
But like you can definitely like I've seen builds online and little videos. I was like, it's me. I'm gonna do like a One Punch Man style thing, and they just have the two big iron balls on their fists, and they like hit a guy 3 times, and that guy crumbles, and that guy is like a major boss, and he's just like, nope, sorry. So like it can be done. Basically, any weapon could be turned into like a nuclear warhead if you're, patient.
Yeah, those hand-to-hand weapons are so fun because they're so fast. So you can build up your procs faster than any other weapon. So if you're doing like a bleed build, you could make a guy bleed within a few hits and do massive damage. So that's a lot of fun. But Paul, you're definitely right. I see where you're going with that, and you're definitely right. There are a handful of weapons that I think everybody would agree are the strongest weapons in the game. And thus, if you want to make the game as easy as possible, you'll use one of 10 weapons, let's say. But from what I've seen as well, the majority of people that still play the game are finding enjoyment out of making it as difficult as possible. So there's plenty of options, plenty of ways to do that. I mean, if you're a PC player, I saw a guy the other day on YouTube. He uploaded a video where he did an enemy randomizer. So he could, I think he ran into like 3 Millennias in a row, just as like regular enemies out there. In addition to turning all enemies invisible.
Okay.
So I'm like, yeah,
To me, that counts as a sickness.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you're unwell. You've gotten too good at Elden Ring. You're looking for a new challenge, and you're doing wild shit to make sure you find one.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what it is I saw. There was some streamer, I feel like, should beat Elden Ring on 2 platforms at the same time, one of which was being controlled by a dance pad.
Yeah, there's a lady out there doing incredible shit with the game. You get people who are like deathless runs or like no hit runs where it's just like, I'm never going to take a hit for the whole game.
And like if they get hit, they restart.
Yeah. Masochist lunatic shit. Just like, what are you doing? What are you doing with your life?
Probably making a good deal of money out of playing Elden Ring.
Yeah. In exchange for an incredible amount of pain and suffering.
If there's one thing people will pay for,
yeah,
pain and suffering. All right, sweet.
Yeah.
James, what else? I know you've been playing other stuff. It's been like 3 years since we last talked.
Let's go into my backlog here and see what else I have that I've published for COG Connected.
.com.
Yep, that's the one.
It's the website.
I reviewed a fucking controller, the Razer Wolverine V3 Pro. It's an Xbox controller, and I don't really have a lot to say about it. It's really fucking good. I think I gave it a crazy high score. I'm going to click on it and find out right now. I don't remember. I think it was crazy high. Yeah, hundo. Okay, yeah, hundo. It's an incredible controller. It feels better than the standard Xbox Series X controller in a lot of ways. Like a lot of ways. I think the thing that really got me obsessed with it and wanting to use it all the goddamn time whenever I'm playing any Xbox or PC games is the fact that Razer was like, you know what, we're going to put that mouse click feel and sound into all the buttons that you use, including the sticks. And that, boy, you can't put a price on that. They did, by the way. It's a lot. But it's great. It rules. Also the battery life is super good, and yeah, it's just a really fucking awesome controller. Probably the best third-party one I've ever reviewed. So I feel pretty comfortable giving a hundo. So that was just a really quick aside. I just did that.
To contextualize that score, what's your favorite regular old controller?
Hard to say. I think prior to this one, it was probably a toss-up because I like the Xbox controllers generally. I think they're great. I think the D-pads are not awesome. But I find it harder to use D-pads like I did when I was a child in general. So I think a part of that just might be us moving on in the world from their old pride of place. I also think the Switch standard, the Switch full controller you can get, the Switch Pro controller is really good. But I've never really had one that was like, oh my god, this thing's fucking amazing. It's always just been like, this does the job better than some others. But yeah, the Razer Wolverine is just like a fucking Cadillac, man. It's just so good.
It's an 83 Coupe de Ville, baby.
Yeah. That was kind of yeah, that was I that was kind of the one of the big thing in Star Wars Outlaws. I watched a little presentation at Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, but like it was hands off, so like I don't know, I can't really tell anything about it. Looks cool. Looks like a cool game.
It looks like an Indiana Jones adventure.
Yeah. Troy Baker does a pretty good job with the indie voice. It feels cinematic as fuck, which is, appropriate for the game and the style.
Did I read that game is coming to PS5 now?
Yes, a few months after Xbox. Like probably 4 months, maybe 5.
How do Xbox people feel about that? Because it was not that long ago Phil Spencer sat on the Xbox podcast and said Indiana Jones and Starfield are not coming to the PS5.
Yeah, well, that was before Xbox had that was probably a talking point generated before all the studio closures and the money hemorrhaging.
Well, that was right after the studio closures, because they had that like emergency meeting.
Hey, maybe the two are related. Maybe the fact that Xbox is kind of losing its like big king shit status in some ways, maybe this is giving publishers leverage to be like, so we're going to put this in PS5, right? And they're like, fucking, I guess. It's harder for us to stop you now. I don't know. That's complete conjecture, not based on anything. Just a fun little headcanon theory. But what if, right? Maybe, right? I don't know.
Yeah, like, I mean, ultimately, I don't care. But I think for the average person, if you're someone who has, say, a PlayStation 5, and you see that Indiana Jones, possibly one of the things that would get you to buy an Xbox, is coming to PS5, you're not going to buy an Xbox. So what is the strategy here?
I don't know.
Just
maybe
throw it at a wall and pray.
I don't think they have anything cohesive. I think they have to figure out how to stop hemorrhaging money, and then they'll probably start producing a concrete strategy. But they can't stop hemorrhaging money. So, I don't know.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah.
It'll be what it'll be.
The other thing I've been spending a ton of time on is, okay, so there was a Nintendo Direct this week, It was just like indie games in a partner showcase. And one of the partner showcase things they showed off was the Castlevania Dominus collection. And that's like the three Castlevania DS games that they released back in the day, all in one collection with gallery and music and the rewind function, which is amazing. It's a great, useful tool. I think it's incredible. I think all retro games should have that shit. It's kind of the only way I like playing retro games now, because why the fuck wouldn't you? Anyways, that has completely consumed my brain and my thoughts and my world. Is fucking Castlevania Order of Ecclesia. I'm playing through that one, and then I'll do the other two, and they're Metroidvania type games, the progenitor, some of the originals, and those games feel like they're for me specifically. Like the producers and the publishers and the designers they all had James Paley in mind when they made these games. They just feel for me. They're so good.
So there's no stealth.
No stealth. You do a bunch of backtracking and level grinding and dumb little battles, and you build up your character and all that. It's great. It's so good. I don't know if you're like, oh, I love Metroidvanias. I haven't played some of the older ones. Fuck, man, get on that shit. They're so good.
There's a reason we make so many of these now, and why they're called Metroidvanias, because the Vanias are quite good.
Vanias are very, very good.
Yeah, this looks cool.
Yeah, it's interesting because they're DS games and they're being played on a single screen. So what they did is you'll have like the main screen takes up like half of it or 2/3, whatever. And then the secondary one, like your map and your inventory and stuff like that, just kind of says in the other half. And you can change the configuration in the options depending on like what you prefer and like how big your TV is and what makes sense for you. And then like there's some touchscreen stuff like drawing sigils on the bottom screen that they've replaced with QuickTime button presses, because Nintendo Switch technically has a touchscreen, but I think they kind of avoid using it because I don't know exactly. My theory is that they don't want people fucking up that screen because it's kind of your only one.
And it's not very durable.
No, it's probably not as durable as the DS one. And even my DS screens, like the bottom one that you did the touchpad stuff on, they got pretty fucked up by the end of it. There was like, you would like turn it towards the right angle in the light, and it was just like a forest of scratches. Like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Also, that limits you to playing it in handheld. If you've got to use the touch screen.
Yeah, exactly.
You had it docked. But anyway.
Yeah.
Another Konami banger.
Yeah, I mean, from back when they made those, you know. They definitely don't do that really anymore.
Yeah, that's one of the great studies of what went wrong ever.
Yeah.
They were dominant. And then they weren't.
Well, they decided they wanted to follow the money, and for them, locally, that was pachinko machines. And people complain, they're baffled by it, they're angry, but like those make a ton of fucking money.
People love flashing lights.
And like Japanese pachinko parlors it's one of those things that we don't think about, but like they are a big part of that country.
Yeah. For better or worse.
Yeah.
And who's to say which?
Yeah. When I do go to Japan, I do kind of want to poke my head into one of those just one time.
Oh, absolutely.
Just for a minute.
Absolutely.
Just to like, maybe with some earplugs in. I hear they get crazy loud.
I think you'd be doing yourself a disservice if you didn't slide a couple of bills toward the pachinko man, you know?
Yeah, no, I'm gonna play, obviously.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Yeah, but like maybe with a KN95 on, because not only are they the loudest rooms you've ever been in your life, but everybody in there but you will be chain smoking cigarettes. So, careful.
yeah. Not great for the lungs, but
No. I mean, when I was a child, I was a lot more used to secondhand smoke than I am now.
Facts. What else? Any other games? Any news?
Well,
I got no idea what's been going on.
Well, you've been very busy. You've had other important work keeping you occupied.
Yeah, sure. We'll call it important.
Yeah. It important in that it pays your bills. Like, fuck, man.
That's fair. That's a fair point.
Yeah, there is that Nintendo Direct. I already talked about one game that was featured, and that's cool. But like, they did show off a bunch of shit. A lot of it I didn't super care about, but like, they did show off a ton of shit. They keep the one that keeps coming up in presentations and showcases is the Plucky Squire. It's a Devolver Digital project that looks like kind of a fascinating boundary breaking thing that switches from like 2D to 3D in like a sort of storybook style. Looks extremely fucking charming and cool, and it's coming out next month. There's a fucking dating sim coming in October called Date Everything, where you could romance every object in your house. The lamps, the doors, the windows, the vacuum cleaner, the oven, the toaster, the TV, the blinds, all of it. Every object has been personified and drawn in a sort of hunky 2D anime style, and then you try to date or befriend them. There's a Ninja Sex Party song that goes into detail about how this would work.
All right.
Yeah. So, that's cool. There's that Balatro card game that's getting a bunch of crossovers. Like with The Witcher 3, Dave the Diver, Vampire Survivors. Just like, that's weird. If you're into Balatro, there are a lot of people into Balatro. Yeah, they're doing another fitness boxing game for the Switch. I'll be honest, I didn't know there was a second one. It's the third one coming out in December.
Oh.
Yeah. So if you're like looking to get some exercise using your Switch, I guess, punch your way to health.
Violence is always the answer.
Violence is often the answer, yes.
Yeah.
Apparently fucking Civilization 7 is coming to the Switch, which feels ambitious. Like,
okay, it's going to be like stop motion.
Yeah,
nothing but stills.
It's gonna look like Civ 1, but it'll play like Civ 7.
Yeah, all right. That's fine. I don't know that I want to play Civ on that, like a small screen like that, though.
No, even if it did run properly, which it's not gonna, you want a real monitor and a mouse, honestly, right? Like, don't try to do a controller with that. That's fucking silly. I know I have at least one friend that's like one of the only games he plays, and so Civ 7 is going to be a big event. They're doing another Capcom fighting collection that has like the 2 Power Stone games.
Okay.
I don't know shit about them, But I know whenever I'm like looking up like what's a list of some of the really great games for like PS1 or Dreamcast or whatever, Power Stone comes up a lot. So that's cool.
That
Yeah,
game's a little hard to describe. You know, like usually you've just got your dudes shuffling back and forth and jumping around side to side. Maybe it's very much more free form. A lot more running around and
Okay.
so on. I am seeing in the news though that the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles TV series is getting a complete collection box set.
Okay.
I'm down for that.
Yeah. I think I was at a cabin trip and somebody threw on an old episode of that cartoon. And let me tell you. that's a real blast from the past. I don't think people realize what cartoons used to be back in the 80s. They were vehicles to sell you toys. Sometimes the toys were also vehicles. And so they didn't have to look good. The most detail they needed was that you could see accurately what the play sets and the vehicles and the action figures would look like. Right? You were just like, oh, they're on model, they match. That's what they needed from the cartoons, nothing else.
That's also the reason why the Turtles got 4 different colors for their masks and such, so that you would have to buy 4 turtles. You can't just have one. That can't be all the turtles. That's clearly Michelangelo. And if I want Donatello, I need to buy Donatello.
I'll be honest. There is a moment, maybe after watching one of the recent movies or playing one of the games or something, where I was looking online to see if I could find old school action figures. Let me tell you, that's a $100 shopping excursion if you're trying to get the set in any condition.
Oh, really?
I'm not talking like complete in box. I'm talking like has all 4 of the original action figures. That's like probably closer to $100 than you're comfortable with. For like gently used, missing some accessories, has all 4 figures.
All 3 fingers. Correction.
Yeah. But yeah, I'd be I don't know, because again, I was a child once. I remember those action figures. The new ones to me look too, I don't know, too cool. They got to look a little dorky. They got to look a little fucked.
A little softer,
right?
A little rounder.
Yeah. It's got to be like, you got to be a little like squinting, like, are we sure? Yeah, are we sure this is what we're looking at? You know? Not just like some big, beautifully articulated, incredibly detailed, fucking lovingly crafted, looks best in a box kind of thing. Like, no, I don't need any of this shit. I want like the figures. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Although I did hear that whatever the last Ninja Turtles movie that came out was, it was quite good.
Yes, I've seen it twice. It's great. It's top shit. I highly recommend it. It's called like Mutant Mayhem. It was like Seth Rogen's big project. It's really good.
I'm glad that he's at that point in his life and career that he can just be like, yeah, I'm gonna make a Turtles movie.
Yeah, just he's got some producer money. Just make some cool shit.
I don't care if anybody likes this. I like it.
I was gonna say there is one more thing on this Nintendo Switch Direct list that has been catching my eye that I am actually kind of excited for. Not even sure why. It just really feels like it's going to be up my alley. and that's Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma. I think there's a couple of things. One, it's like a Japanese farming sim set in a Japanese setting. Two, the graphics are so much better than any previous Rune Factory game. And I really fucking loved the Rune Factory series. I played a couple of them back in the day. And as a man who fucks with farming sims pretty heavy from time to time, it seems like a move. It's not coming out until next spring, but whew.
That's a miss. You got to put out your farming sim cozy game in cozy season. Right?
I mean
Right.
what is cozy season in your
It's dark, it's
estimate?
cold, it's raining, it's snowing.
Sure.
Father Time is out there.
Okay.
From this trailer, I have no idea what this game is like. Okay, there it is.
Yeah, it's they were doing the like farming / dungeon shit even before Stardew Valley. Like years before Stardew Valley. So you would build up your like sword and sorcery skills in addition to like your crop growing shit, and you could like, you know, date a bunch of the locals and like all that shit.
Okay. Yeah, this looks a little more like a quote unquote real game than I thought. So maybe it doesn't have to be in cozy season.
No, it's like, yeah, it's like leagues better looking than any previous Rune Factory game, which I'm fine with.
Cool.
Yeah, yeah, most of the news has been like, hey, Outlaws, Star Wars Outlaws has some nasty shit happening to it, which I wish as always with Star Wars games, really wish I'd known about that when I was doing the review. So
you're
cool.
Kind of building up a bit of a history with that.
Yeah, maybe I just don't pick another Star Wars game for a while. Maybe the last big problem was in 2017. This one's 2024. Maybe I don't do this dumb shit with Star Wars again until 2031. Yeah.
Or before or after that point, so that the curse doesn't repeat.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, that seems like the reasonable move. Just don't review Star Wars games for a little while.
At least not stealthy ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Just yeah. What do you say, guys? Should we call it there? Call it a podcast? Call it an event? Call it an entry into the logbook of our lives?
Yeah, we've learned a bunch of shit about Star Wars and how maybe it shouldn't have been all stealth. And they definitely won't learn that lesson. That's fine.
Of the games we talked about, probably Elden Ring was still the best. Should become a measuring stick. Like, are the games we talked about better than Elden Ring?
Yeah, that's a tough yardstick to fucking sit against, man. That's like,
well, listen, dude, I'm not getting any younger, so it's got to be the best of the best, or at least acceptable, but also bad enough that it's entertaining. Those are the two things I want in my life.
So I'll take it since the last time we talked, you haven't dusted off that physical copy of Elden Ring. And
no, it's still sitting there.
Still sitting there, yeah. Well,
I'll tell you
during
what.
cozy season.
Yeah, cozy season. I'll tell you what. We'll get off this call, this chat. I'll put the disc in the machine.
Hey, there you go. That's a
Yeah.
start.
It's harder to
That's-
ignore if
yeah,
it's
yeah,
in your
yeah.
in your face. It's spinning up all the time.
Yeah. First step's always the hardest.
That's what they say. The first cut is the deepest.
Yeah.
Well, thanks everybody for watching or listening. We appreciate you. It's been Press X2 Podcast, doing the podcast thing. We'll be back at some point. I don't see anything in the way of it being next week, but hey, let's see.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
We'll do our best. How about that?
Yeah,
As-
we'll do our
as
best
always.
to put another one out in a week.
All right. Well, thanks everybody. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you next time. Right back here for Press X, the podcast.